And we'll officially go ahead and get started. Yay! Well, I really wanted to welcome everybody to the Women's Poker Association classes on mixed game madness. And really the reason that this whole class was even a idea was because well, first of all, I'm going to back it up even further. I personally am a mixed game player. I very rarely play no limit hold'em. It is not my choice of games because it is, in my philosophy, a game where your bankroll is at risk in a very big way all the time. And so I lend myself to being more of a limit poker not hold'em, but limit poker in general, and anything other than hold'em. So if I could find myself an Omaha game, a PLO game, um, a mixed game. Here in Las Vegas, there are a lot of mixed game groups that play in a variety of different rooms on specific nights. And then there's a lot of home games that mixed game players, that especially the real degenerate ones like me, where we like to play kind of combinations of these crazy games. And so it's interesting to me that when I first started playing those mixed games, they were rare, and now they're becoming the norm. I mean, now we have at the World Series of Poker an 8-game mix tournament, which I think is phenomenal. If you're going to find anything outside of hold'em in a poker room in a land-based casino, most likely it's going to be Omaha. And even if it is Omaha, most of the time it's going to be Omaha high-low. So that's going to be the next lesson, Omaha high-low, but tonight we're going to concentrate strictly on Omaha high. And then horse games are really a big to-do in poker right now. So you can probably find a horse game, and they're usually featured not on a routine basis, but like on a weekend or something like that in some. My strongest suggestion to you is, if you want to play a mixed game and they don't offer it into your poker room that's local to you, go talk to the poker room manager and say, listen, we're really interested in expanding our poker repertoire, and we would like you to have at least one night a week, or or maybe in a low buy-in tournament where people can practice learning how to play these games there at their room, and invite your friends and say, listen, we all want to do it, and hopefully they'll support you in wanting to learn the game. So let's go ahead and get started about Omaha. Because you are a hold'em player, and I assume that everybody in this webinar is a hold'em player, and you've played poker before, and you understand that Omaha and hold'em are both community card games. For example, in hold'em, you have two cards that you're dealt, and then you're going to have 5 cards on the board, and the best 5 cards, and the best out of the 7 5-card hand is going to be the winning hand. It's exactly the same way in Omaha. The difference in Omaha is that you're going to be given 4 hold cards. So when I'm dealt, they're going to give me 4 cards instead of 2. Yes, these are ginormous cards, but on a regular poker table, you can still do the same hand maneuver that you would for 2 cards with your 4 cards. So you don't have to do this and show the world what your hand is. You can still pick up your cards like you would normally. If you take it and then you just squeeze them out, you can be able to see all the 4 different cards. So really what you're going to be doing is taking the 4 cards that you've got in your hand, and we're going to do the same thing as you would in the same betting rounds as you would in hold'em. You'll have your starting cards, and what you need to know is what are starting hands in Omaha, the same way as you would like in hold'em. I'm going to tell you that the most glorious 4 words, or I don't know if they were 4 words. I don't remember how many words there were. But Donna shared this with me one day when I was going into my very first, and this is like 10 years ago, my very first Omaha tournament. I said, Donna, what do I really need to know? And she said, Lupe, you need to look at your 4 cards, and you need to find 4 combinations in those 4 cards of hold'em hands. in order for you to even consider playing that game. Now, of course, if it looks like a rock star game where they're all monsters, that's a raising hand. But we'll go into that in just a minute. So primarily, if you're dealt your 4 cards, you have to come up with a combination. I cheated right now, and I'm going to show you a combination. This combination is 8, 9, 10, Jack. But you notice that they are all unsuited. Okay. Now, Donna, what would you call this kind of a hand in Omaha?
Crap.
There you go. Can you explain why?
Okay, the reason why is that you have to think of how to make these combination hands. As a matter of fact, it's no longer you need to have 4 interconnecting hold'em hands. You have to have 6 now. You have to be able to make 6 hold'em hands that work with each other. So if you had 8, 9, 10 Jack and they happen to be double suited, then you might say, well, I've got quite a few overlapping straight combinations, do have some combinations of suits, but 8, 9, 10 Jack, a lot of people go, boy, that's a really cool hand. Even if it's suited, I probably would not stay with that unless I'm at the end of action and it's been a really passive hand. I might go ahead and come in under those conditions. But the probability of hitting something with that kind of hand, you just don't have enough power with it.
Right. Okay, so one of the other things that's really important to know in Omaha is that Omaha, if out of any of them, is a river game. You're going to find that in this game, outside of any other game, you're going to find more people in to see the flop, and way more people in. If let's say we got 10 people at the table, it is not unusual to see 5, 6, 7 people looking at the flop, and it's still not unusual to see 5 or 6 looking at the river, because with every single card, depending on where your hand falls in, you can improve your hand. It's crazy. So I kind of want to give you an example of that. And I'm going to show you an ugly flop. So we're going to keep using my little cards right here, which are these same hands right here, okay? The Jack 10, 9, 8. Let's say I was in that passive game and it was in it was in the late position. So I went ahead and called it, okay? So now these are, not that one. Let me give you a different one. I know I can't give you a perfect hand. I got to give you something kind of crazy. Okay, here you go. So here comes the flop. And these are our flop cards. It's the 7 of clubs, the 10 of spades, and the 5 of clubs. Now, remember, these are your cards. When on the flop, I have to use 2 of my hold cards. Absolutely must use 2. So in your 4, you have to pick out the 2 best cards that match with this. Okay? Well, right off the bat, what do we see here? We see that there's 2 clubs. That means that there's already 2 clubs that are to a flush. You look at my cards. I don't have any suited cards at all, okay? So if I'm going to stay in this hand, I should at least have that, okay? Because you want to improve your hand every time you show cards. Now, we're going to go back here. Now, but I've got a 5, a 7, and a 10. Look what else I've got. I have an open-ended straight draw because I have a 9, 10. Okay? So if it's cheap, and you're playing a very, very low game and you're still last to act and it hasn't been raised in front of you, you might want to peel off a hand because you have an open-ended straight draw. Just remember that the statistically in Omaha, you know how you get a whole bunch of outs in you can count your outs in Hold'em pretty easily. In Omaha, because there are 4 cards everybody has, your chances of hitting something are lower, right? Because they have more possibilities. That means that those people who are also in the hand with you may hit what they're looking for and improve much better than you ever will. So, okay, those are those 3. These are these 3. I'm going to say that I called the hand because it was the, let's say everybody checked around or we had one small bet and I was able to call that. Pot limit Omaha, I will kill you if you ever call these hands because you're going to lose lots and lots of money. Okay, but anyway, that's our flop, right? Okay, I'm going to add to our flop.
Da, 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 da. What is the turn? And the turn is, oh my goodness.
The 10 of hearts. Okay. Now let's look back at my hand. Okay.
Now, some people are going to think the hand is really good now. You've got trip 10s.
They're going to think it's fantastic that they've got trip 10s, okay? But
think again.
Yeah, think again, because what happens in you have a stronger hand because it's the highest pair on the community cards. And if you have a 10, already you have that. But my highest kicker is a jack. So anybody with a 10 queen, a 10 king, or a 10 ace in their hand already have me beat.
Or a 10-5.
I was going to say, if they have a 10-5 or a 10-7, my ass is grass, okay? So I'm basically calling off a whole lot of money to have just trips, okay? Now, let me show you the river.
And the river is?
Okay, hold on.
Where'd the river go?
It's coming.
That's kind of sort of what we say when the...
It's a deuce. So now we have really no flush because you have to have the 3 suited cards, right? We didn't get the straight either, right? Because nothing connected to give you the straight. Remember, you had the inside straight, right? You were able, or the open-ended, but you didn't hit. You didn't get a jack on the board, or you didn't get a 6 on the board, anything to be able to make that straight for you. So now you only have a deuce. Now, the only people who are going to call this hand is somebody who has a 10 in their hand.
Or somebody who has a pair of 5s or a pair of 7s.
Right, which is very possible. Usually what will happen is the person with a pair of 5s or a pair of 7s will not bet because they know that their full house that they have, because they have a low full house. It's very strong, especially if you have the pocket 5s. Let's say I have pocket 5s in my hand. I'm not going to call, I'm going to check it. I will call it, but I won't check it. I mean, I won't bet it. It'll probably go, the person with the pocket 5s will check. And this is how it happens all the time. It's kind of hysterical. The person with the pocket 5s checks, the person with the pocket 7 checks, and the person with just the 110 bets. Even though they don't have a freaking full house. If they're smart, they will go ahead and just check it because they did not fill up. And it is more common than not, if there is a paired board, that there will be a full house in somebody's hands. Okay, so absolutely never, ever, ever bet out just trips. In the long run, you will save yourself a small fortune. Okay?
And so what if you lost a hand? If you find that there's not a hand that you would have lost, then you're just flat in there too much, period.
Right. So you saw what this was. This was your hand, but let's say this hand was in play.
Yummy.
Okay. This hand is a definite raising hand. And the reason is because it's pocket aces, plus it's double suited. It has an ace king and an ace queen. So you can go Broadway with it. You can go nut flush in 2 suits with it. And then, of course, you have the pocket aces. And if an ace hits, that immediately would be the top trips. And if it board pairs, well, then you've got the highest full house that there is. Okay. So I wanted to kind of talk about starting hands. It is kind of like the range is wider because people are crazier in this game the way that they play. We think people in Hold'em play crazy. People in Omaha play crazier. But you can capitalize that if you don't play crazy, okay? Your starting hands, what I call raising hands, are when you have an ace-ace, like Jack-10 double suited, or an ace-ace-queen double suited, ace-king-king, any of the double suits, all the way to about, I'm going to say like an ace-9 or an ace-10, if they're double suited, I would go ahead and definitely call it, and most likely I'm going to raise those hands because nines not so much though, maybe not nines. I would say ace 10 and up. I'm definitely calling king king queen queen, king king jack jack, any of the when you've got all the suits in your hands. If they're, even if only one of them is double suited, they're still strong hands because they're high cards. This is still poker. You still want those high cards with high value. And you can go all the way down the line with the varieties of those. All the suited cards, nines and above, for sure, are calling hands. There's some other good double suited hands too in the 4 cards if they're in a row. If they're like maybe like 6 or 7 and higher. For example, like if you've got oh shoot, 9, let's say 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's 2 suits. Those are really strong connectors in 2 suits because you can still have flushes, you can still have straights, and it's a range of a straight. So I would call, I don't know if I'd call a raise with it, but I would definitely call those hands. Anything else like that first hand that I showed you, throw that crap away. Because unless you've got suited connectors in there and or really high paint, in your hand, you're going to wind up calling not just the flop. Every once in a while, crap hits. We know that happens in Hold'em as well. But you're going to save yourself a whole lot of money if you don't play anything that's less than, let's say, like a 6. 5, 6. I'm gonna cut it off at 6s, 6 and up. Anything else, throw it away. Unless you get like, let's say for example, a Jack 10 suited and an Ace 3 suited. Because you still have the 3 is the odd number in there, but if it's suited to the ace, that's a nut flush draw. So you just kind of want to look at your hands, and she was talking about the 6 hand, the 6 hand possibility. Do you want to kind of expand on that a little bit, Donna, and about how do you look at your hands to find 6 cards or six
I've always talked about doing what I call the 6-second rule, which is actually look at your cards. The thing about Hold'em cards, look at your cards and you take your time looking at them. I don't snap look at them because I realized what was happening was when I was actually I realized it was in Tunica. I can remember the day this happened. I looked at my cards and there were a pair of aces there, and I snapped them down really quick, and I heard the snap. And I went, oh crap, I've just told the world that I had aces. So that's when the 6-second rule came up, which is, turn the cards up and in your cave and say the cards to yourself 3 times, whatever they are. And it takes about 6 seconds. Used to piss Jan and Linda off all the time because it was slowing down the tournaments. I'm sorry. But I needed that to remind myself, first of all, of what the cards were. I wanted to be able to remember them the first time. I wanted consistency because I wanted for people to be confused about what I had, because I wanted to look at the cards exactly the same amount of time. Now, take 4 cards. Now I'm going to be looking at those. It's more like a 12-second rule when it comes to 4 cards, because I've got to figure out what the possibilities are. You know, people say, well, you've just got paint and you've got double suited, but you've got to think about how you can intertwine those cards. People say, I've seen people say, oh, I had a pair of aces, that was a great hand. No, you get a pair of aces with an Omaha hand and there's nothing else that goes with it. That's crap. That's just a throwaway. You have to have cards that go together. What I want you to do, the best way to do it is get a deck of cards out and look at them and you know, just deal yourself 4 cards and turn them over and see how those cards could go together. So if you've got ace, ace, king, queen, as you had before, what do you have? Well, you've got a pair of aces, okay, and they're double suited. So that means you've got potential for having quads. You've got potential for having the nut flush, assuming if it's not, somebody else might have a straight flush. So that's the aces, you've got quads, you've got the potential of the 2 suits, 2 nut flush suits, that's 4. Now with those cards, you have 2 more hands that'll work in there in relationship to straight draws. So that one is a 6 card hand. Just think about that. How can I take those cards, turn them into 6 hands, but they have to go together and meld together. They have to be a mesh. Think about meshing the cards together. And
would this work?
Well, you had to do that, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's really a crappy hand. You know, it looks really beautiful, but it's just a really crappy hand because the 5-6 might as well be a throwaway. It does not go with the ace king. By the way, thank you so much for saying that something that I said to you 10 years ago helped to set the foundation of Omaha.
As a matter of fact, I think we were in Biloxi, Mississippi when that question was asked. We were at a series, and one of our gals, Chris, is heading to Biloxi for that series tomorrow, I think it is. So I'm excited for her.
Well, it was, when I learned Omaha, I was schooled on the Mississippi River, on those boats that would go out for 6 hours. And it was the one out of Louisville was the one that I was schooled on, as Caesars out of Louisville. And there was one pot limit Omaha game. It was a buy-in for $1,000. This wasn't a tournament, it was cash. Always a buy-in for $1,000. You could never do a short buy. It always, no short buys. And I figured that when I go in and buy in for $1,000, my intention is if I can finish those 6 hours and cash out $1,000, I have had a winning game.
Yeah.
And it was astonishing. I can remember the very first night that I was there, I ended up being in my least favorite seat, which is seat 5. For me at 6'5", it just doesn't work. But it was an interesting seat because every one of the players there were old guys. I mean, this is in the late 90s when this happened. And I mean, we're talking about old guys. They were a good 20 years older than me even then. And they, I guess for some reason, they took a liking to me because they were really kind. And I never asked questions, but I would have, you know, after a hand was over, sometimes one of them might say something to me about the hand, these little morsels of tidbits that I would get of wisdom. So I just thank them very much. And but I was on that boat probably 7 or 8 times. And I have to tell you that all but one of the times I got up with at least $1,000.
Nice. That's really nice.
I really learned a lot from there.
I'm going to set up some more, another set of hands here.
Excellent. This is fun, by the way. You
Yeah.
came up with this concept? I love this.
What?
Doing it with the cards like that.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to show you my cards, and then I'm going to show you Donna's cards. Okay. We are dealt out. Boom, 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 boom. This is Donna's cards. Donna, what are you going to do with that?
What position am I in?
We're playing heads up, so go for it, girlfriend.
Oh shit, we're heads up. I'm raising. I mean,
Yeah.
it's heads
Okay.
up.
Donna's going to raise his hand, and can you tell him, explain why this you like this hand?
I don't particularly like the hand, but we're heads up. We're heads up. I mean, it's got some power in it.
Okay, so let's say everybody fold it around, and it's just and you're the small blind, and you got this hand, so you raised it because I'm the big blind.
Oh hell, well I'm just not going to limp in on anything. I'm not a limper, by the way, when it comes to small blinds.
Right. Okay, so she raised it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna raise.
Okay. This is my hand.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes. I have a monster hand here, and so Donna wants to play hardball with me. Guess what? I'm re-raising her. She's probably just going to call with that because she already put in her money. She'll call.
Just call.
And here's my hand. Okay. Now we're going to see the flop.
Da 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 da.
Yeah. Here's the flop. 5-9 king. Okay. Donna's first to act. She has a king, queen, queen, deuce. So really, the only thing she has right now is a king with a queen kicker. Okay, Donna, what are you going to do?
I'm going to. Well, now it depends. It depends. Based on the cards, I would check. However, based on the person, I might lead out and bet.
Okay. Well, she's never seen me before. She knows nothing about me, so she probably bet. I saw this and I was like, well, I've got a king with an ace kicker. I don't think she's raised raised me with this crap. Yeah, wrong one. I didn't think that. I think she has this, crap, because mine's pretty damn good. So I'm going to go ahead and bet it. Most likely, Donna's going to call it because she does have a king with a queen kicker.
It depends. It depends on how much you bet, and if it's pot limit, by that time I might go ahead. Okay. Actually, I might lead out and bet and check. Sorry, I might lead out. I might do a check call.
Okay. If she were to, we're going to talk limit poker here because pot limit is another beast completely.
Okay. Sorry, I was in pot limit.
I know, but in limit poker,
yes.
If she were to bet out, remember it's just the flop, so it's a single bet for me to call it and to see how it goes. There is risks with limit poker in that it can get expensive because you have to put money in it to win it, okay? But if you hit it, it can be very profitable. So right now, Donna doesn't know it, but she didn't do so hot on that bet, but she bet, I called. Let's say she didn't bet and she checked, I would have bet because I had the ace kicker and I didn't think she had crap in her hands because that was pretty crappy flop. And then, she'd probably just call. Okay, so now.
Oh, come on, show me. What's the turn? What's the turn?
Okay. This is the turn.
Oh, my.
So now we have what? There is a straight in there.
Double suits.
And a double suit. So it's possible to have a flush draw and a heart draw. Okay. So remember, these are her cards. She's got a queen high flush draw, which is pretty good. She still has the king with the queen kicker. What are you going to do, Donna?
I'm checking.
Yeah. Okay. Me, I'm checking. I'm not checking because I have, what do I have? I have a king with an ace kicker and I have the nut flush draw on one of those suits.
Well, maybe not the nut flush draw, but you have a nut flush draw because.
But if we get a 6 of spades or something in here, then we're screwed because it is very possible for a straight flush.
Yep.
Okay. Now, because her and I are heads up, and I was aggressive by raising her when she bet out, I need to continue that, right? Just like regular poker. Like you wanna play, girl, you gotta pay, right? So I'm gonna most likely in the reality of Donna and I, if I were to bet it, she would have folded.
That's right.
But let's say I bet out and she still feels pretty confident with her king queen kicker, and remember she does have a flush draw too. She's got the queen high flush draw. All right. So now,
Da-da-da-da. What's the river?
Here's the river.
Make my day.
I didn't. I know. So let me tell you how ugly this river is for both of us. So what has happened here is now there is a heart flush possibility because there's a king 9-5 of hearts. That means that if you have 2 hearts in your hand, you do have a flush. However, there is a pair on the board, and 9 times out of 10 when there's a pair on the board and people are staying in their hands, is because they've hit the board with trips in some way. So it's possible that they have a 5-7 in their hand, a king 5, a 9-5, which we're all going to beat your flush. Okay. So neither one of us, remember, she only has the king queen, and neither one of us have hearts. And I only have an ace king and 2 10s. The only hand that we have right now, even though neither one of us, we would probably both check it down, because unless we were being aggressive and trying to take the cards without without a showdown. And that's where you have to watch your players and your opponents to see if they are excited about the flop, or I mean about the river, or not. Let's say we didn't get a tell off of watching them, and so at that point we probably would both check it down because we have shitty cards. I would win with the ace king because I have kings and 5s with an ace kicker, because I have to use 2 in my hand and 3 on the board, and the best 5 would be ace king with 2 5s.
And I have kings and 5s with a queen.
And she has kings and 2 5s with a queen. So my kicker caught her. Okay. At this point, does anybody have any questions? If you have a question, you can go ahead and put it in the chat box. And
yeah, what I'd like for you to do too is if you can put in the chat box. By the way, I've had some people say, I didn't know they had the chat, but there is a chat place. I'd like for you, first of all, to tell us what you know about the game, something that you know about it, and then I want to know what you would like to know about it or what you don't know about it. So it's what you feel like you're good at and what you feel like you need some help with. And we're not going to be talking about percentages and that kind of stuff. That's too convoluted when it comes to Omaha.
Yeah, our goal here is to expose you to the game and to help you read a hand. So and quite honestly, if you know how to play Hold'em and you know the hands, the only thing that you have to get really good at, and I like the 6-second rule, and if you're playing it in what Donna's talking about, if you're playing though with an action clock, 6 seconds is too long because you've got to act within 30. And if you've got tournament life in hand, you know, I would cut that down a little bit. But one of the things that you know, in time when you're playing Hold'em, you can look down at your cards and you don't have to pick them back up because you know what you have in your hand. It's the same way with Omaha. With practice and looking at lots and lots of hands, when you open up your hand and you see what your cards are, you're going to know within 10 seconds if you're playing that hand. Sometimes immediately you're going to know, because if it all is single suited and, you know, crap like gaps, like it doesn't connect in any way, don't play it, just throw it. And even if you get the miracle flop where you had a 3 in your hand and 3 threes came out in the flop, oh well, too bad, so sad. Don't get in that habit, because you'll lose a lot of money overall. Remember to find those connecting cards to make hold'em hands, a variety of hold'em hands in your cards. So go ahead. There's a question there, Donna. What does it say?
Yeah, is Linne? Is that Linne? Is that how you say her name? Linne?
Lenny.
Linne. Okay, if you have 2 pairs on the board and hold them, I'll be scared if someone has a full house, but I guess on a 2-pair board, it's less likely for someone to have a full house in Omaha. Yes? No, not necessarily.
I'm gonna set up a hand like that, so you guys keep talking.
Yeah, please find the chat. Chili had said, please set chat to everyone. So I guess it was like, I said chat here so people would see where it was. The system's a little different. Yeah, they could have quads. It's exactly right. You know, if you've got, because one of the things that, and I've never seen this in a book before about Omaha, but what I discovered was that one of the things that you really need to look at and have in your hand, in your whole cards, it's really important to have a pair that really makes your hand super, super strong. Come on, y'all find your keyboards and type some stuff in here, because I know that you've got questions. And I'm thrilled. We've got 16 people on today, and that's great.
Yeah, we actually sold. I call it sold out, but we didn't. Nobody bought anything. But we were full at. We took 50 registrants for this series, and that's phenomenal. And really appreciate you guys supporting this, because I believe that the more games that you know in poker, the better poker player you will be overall.
So Chili said that the more people in the hand, the more possibilities. And that is absolutely the case. And compared with Hold'em, that's absolutely correct. Is there much bluffing in Omaha? I'm laughing. She's laughing. Yes,
but not the same. Not the same as Hold'em.
It's not the same, because the hands have to be draw heavy to really bluff. In relationship to the possibilities of what you might have. That's why you want your hand to be draw heavy. Are you always trying to draw to nut flush? Well, no, but it's always the best. Would drawing to a middle flush not be a good thing? No, it would not be a good thing, because people are going to have bigger flushes. Or if you're drawing to a straight, you always want it to be a nut straight. Well, that's always the best. You don't want to have an idiot straight. I have seen people with an idiot straight, 7, 8, 9 on the board, and somebody with a 6, 7 is the one that's going to be calling, and it's like an idiot hand. Louis Jean says, basically, the more connected, suited, and high cards you have in your hand, the stronger it is. That's absolutely correct. And the people in Hold'em have gotten really carried away with the mid card runs. And certainly I have seen a lot of people play them. I've seen a lot of people that are really crazy about them, and then you have to read the player, because what I do and what I want you to do with your game is I want you to continually profile your players. Continually update and profile the players. People think, well, I'm not in the hand and I can just kind of lollygag around and look at something. Put your phone away, stop looking at the TV. We have, when you're out of a hand, that's the time you need to work. You need to pay attention to what other players are showing. You always want to take note of what their starting hands were. And sometimes you're going to go, what the? But you need to be able to that continually updating the profile. Fatima said, can you please explain what wraps are? I've heard that a lot, but not sure how they work. Wraps had to do with how they would interconnect with straights, so that you would have a lot of different possibilities. Just think about taking cards and kind of making them fit, almost like gears.
Okay, I think I've got set up this hand, and I want to kind of show you what we were talking about before about the improving of the hands and stuff. And then after this hand, I'm going to set up a wrap for you so that you understand what a wrap looks like.
Excellent.
So this is player one. Player one is got ace three. Well, I'm going to do it this way so it's better for you, easy. So they have a pair in their hand. They have a small suited connector, and they have a nut flush draw. This is like, man, this is a great hand if you're playing Omaha high-low. But in Omaha high, it's an okay hand. But if it didn't cost you much to see a flop, you might want to, go ahead.
It's high.
Hey, Chris, can you mute yourself, please? Chris Reed, can you please mute yourself?
Hold on a minute. Let me find her.
Where is it? Right.
I got it. Okay.
Thanks, honey.
All right.
Okay.
So that's player one's cards. Ace 3, 3, 4. Okay.
I remind you, we're talking about Omaha high, because she showed that, and I'm going, oh, it made me wet thinking about the fact that it might be high-low, but we're not talking about high-low. That's next week.
We're not talking about high-low. No.
Okay.
And hold on one second. There's one more. I'm missing a card. There it is. There we go. Okay. And this is player B. They have ace deuce 8, 8.
What an ugly hand.
It is an ugly hand, but first of all, they're playing 3-6 Omaha, so it's really cheap. They're learning the hands. They're looking at more hands than not, and so they late position there, or maybe they're the big blind, and that's what they got dealt. Okay, so they are, and they're in the hand. So there's their cards. Ace deuce diamonds 8, 8. Okay, so both of these cards are not terrific. I like the other one better because it's double suited, has some connectors, and it had a pair in it. Okay, so now here is this crazy ass. Oops, hold on. I did something wrong. Hold on, I got to set it back up. Hold on. I was like, how did that card get over there? Okay, so. I apologize. Hold on.
Oh, while you're doing that, I just want to remind everybody to come up with some questions. The more questions you ask, the better the training will be, because we need to figure out what you want to know. She's going, where is that card?
It is. I know. I'm trying to where is it? Where is it?
That's okay.
It's here. It's here.
That's okay. Take your time. This is actually fun for me. It's great entertainment.
Great. Watch Lupe go crazy. That's real entertaining.
No, man. No, I mean, Omaha is my favorite. Omaha is my game. Speaking of Best Bet, when I went to Best Bet just after they opened, I was buying into a really high dollar cash game, and their minimum buy-in was $500, but these guys would come in with $20,000 and $30,000 into the game. And I would say, okay, I've got 3 little bullets. And it was probably the most excitement that I've ever had. And I was staying at one of the hotels up there. It's about 3 hours from where I live. And it was so profitable. I kept staying, calling home and saying, okay, guys, I'm going to stay another day. I'm in the hotel lobby one night, and 2 of the guys came in. The younger kids came in, had been at the table, and they came in and they looked at me and said, you're a sick player. And I went, what? Did I do something wrong? And they said, and they started laughing. And I said, what do you mean sick? And they said, you are sick. And I said, is that bad? They said, no, that's a good thing. So that was probably the biggest compliment I ever got.
That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so.
Yes.
A quick reminder. There's the ace 3, 3, 4, which we preferred that hand over this one, which was the ace deuce 8, 8. Okay, this was the big blind. He didn't get raised, so he's called it. Okay. So here comes the flop. OMG. 2, 2, 3.
Oh, no.
So now all of a sudden, this shitty ass hand, he's like, whoa, cool. I have a trips with an ace kicker, right? Super, super cool. This player has a full house. They have 3, 3 in their hand, and it's a deuce, deuce. So at the moment, they have the nuts for a full house. Now, if I had deuces, two deuces in my hand, then I would have the nuts with quads. Okay, but I don't. I have what I think is a pretty good hand. Now, mind you, I'm the big blind, so most likely I'm the first person to act. I'm going to bet because I have trips, right? Oh, well, guess what? This person's going to raise. And I'm thinking, well, I have an ace kicker, and I know he can't have quads because I already have a deuce. I'm stupid enough to think, oh, there's no way he'd be playing 3, 3, right? Okay. No, I'm wrong. So he's going to bet. I'm going to call because I have the deuce with the ace kicker. Okay. Now, we know that guy's already got a full house, but this is the turn. Deuce, deuce, 3, 8.
Woohoo.
My guy still has 3, 3 with a full house of threes over deuces in her cards because they have to play 2 cards, right?
Threes full of deuces.
Yeah, so they have threes full of deuces. But dumb shit over here who called with the ace kicker and his deuce just picked up a monster hand because he has pocket eights, which is the best at that point now.
Oh, please give me a 3. Please give me a 3 on the river.
Right? So now this person has the best hand with eights full of deuces. Threes full of deuces have gotten discounted. Okay? Here is the river. You called it, Donna.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the thing of it is, what's bizarre is that quads over quads, it happens so many times.
all the time. And in Omaha, if there's a house that has a jackpot, they happen so often that isn't even a qualifier. They have to be like 10 quads, quad 10s beaten or something. It's ridiculous. So anyway, so now you see how their hand became the monster again because now they have quads. And there's probably going to be a little bit of a bidding war going on.
Mm-hmm.
And this person's going to be so sad when they turn over and they see that they have quads. Okay.
Yeah, and Lenny said, I mentioned ace, ace, X, that can be a throwaway hand. It can be correct to fold aces pre-flop, yes, because aces, it's just a part of a hand. Remember, I said you need to think of having 6 hold'em hands that work together in Omaha. And aces, that's only 1/6 of your hand.
Yeah, you've got to, it's a connectivity game. You have to almost think of your hand not as a single pair, but as a variety. And the more of a strong variety you have, the stronger your hand is. That's why I said that if you go with like 10s and above or 9s and above, and they're suited connectors and they're pairs, and or you got double pairs and they're suited. Oh my God. Every time it looks better, it is better. It's a stronger hand. Granted, can you get beat by these stupid little deuces? Yes. But if your hand doesn't improve, it's just like any other poker game. Every time you see a card, if your hand doesn't improve, and at Fifth Street flop turn, on the turn, if you have not improved at all and there's a lot of action in front of you, and you don't have like more than one way to really win that hand, get out. Save yourself your money and go to the next opportunity.
That's right. What would be minimum type of hand you want to flop? Call to continue to the turn. Like if you flop trips, is that good? No, and my answer is. Or are you looking for nut 5 card hands? Yeah, you really want to do that. You want to look at better hands.
Mm-hmm.
Those minimal hands are just not it. You really look to high hands. When I first started, even before I was schooled on the Mississippi River out of Louisville, it was actually at the Grand Casino in Biloxi, which I'm so sorry that doesn't exist anymore. And it was in
It
no,
doesn't exist. What do you talk about?
have they opened their card room? No, not
Oh,
the
I don't
Grand.
know. I don't
No,
know.
the Grand never opened the card room after Hurricane Katrina.
Oh,
Um, but
but the casino's still there.
well, kinda, yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Okay. Well, I haven't been back in a while. Can you tell?
yeah.
Go ahead.
And it was actually an Omaha high-low that I first played in a really big game. It was the 2040 limit high-low. That's huge, huge. And I was so afraid that I only came into the hand with high hands.
Right. Right.
And I ended up, it was my first win in Omaha. I cashed out about 5 bullets, and it was really exciting.
This question right here says, so would you fold a straight draw if flush draws are out there? If your straight draw is not a flush, probably. I think what you're saying is if you have 2 cards to that straight, but you don't have, and there's 2 cards to a flush out there as well, are you going to stay in?
A straight draw is a flush draw, like you would make it.
So there's a flush draw and a straight draw on the board, on the flop. Let's say, for example, you have a straight draw in your hand, but you don't have a flush draw in your hand. Would you stay in? That's what she's asking.
Yeah, I probably would not, because of the fact that more often, and I don't know the correct percentages of it, but from my experience, more often the flushes hit because people are greedy about flushes.
Mm-hmm.
People will stay in with really small flushes. And Sandy had said, when looking for 6 combinations, can you use suited 1 gappers, maybe suited 2 gappers? It just
1
depends on
gap,
how
maybe.
yeah, and but they've got to really work together with each other. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they've got to really work together. Like the ace, king, queen 10. What do you have, that really big hand that you had? In essence, you've got some gappers in there.
Yes, because I had an ace queen. That
Ace
was
queen.
a 1 gapper.
Yeah,
And then
so,
I had an ace king. But they were double suited. And they also gave me a Broadway, top of the Broadway line if it was unsuited. So it's a really, really strong hand. One of the things that I want you guys to do is to find yourself a free online platform like PokerStars Home Games, or some of these other platforms that don't cost you any money, and just go sit at a table and call up a friend and say, hey, sit at this table for me, so you can start watching hands and just looking at them and giving yourself some time to act and say, gosh, is this something that I should call? You can see a million hands on freaking online in no time at all, and you learn how to read them. You also can play the free tournaments. They have tournaments, that cost you just pretend chips and stuff like that. I know that they have them on the PokerStars free side, the home games. I don't play online anymore because really there's not a lot of games. The only time I will play online, and I live in Nevada, I live in Las Vegas. The only time I will play is during the summer, because then you can get some mixed game action. And I'm not a Hold'em player, and that's primarily all I see online out here in Nevada in WSOP.com. But if I can get a few of my friends, and I'd be willing to do this with you guys, even if we can set a day and a time and set up, a table on the PokerStars home games where we just sit and play together, a little tournament just for fun, just to start seeing some hands and practicing what's a good folding hand, what's a good calling hand. Because really it's just like when you learned poker. You weren't real sure when you first started, but as you got better and you learned what hands were winning more for you, you know, and you saw that yes, 90% of the times the pocket pairs and then the suited connectors and all this, you learned your range of hands that you would call or raised. It's the same thing with Omaha. You're gonna learn those as well. I will post what I call a good starting hand list in the Mixed Game Madness event page, so that you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to starting hands.
And Lenny, I'm sorry, Lenny said, what kinds of hands do you like to use to re-raise a raise pre-flop? Seems scary to put a lot of money before seeing the flop, unlike Hold'em. And it was a kind of hand that Lupe showed earlier, which was ace, ace, king, queen, double suited. That's the kind of hand that would be a pre-flop raising hand.
Mm-hmm.
Because the biggest problem with Omaha is that you really want to thin the field, and that's tough. That's really, really tough. But it's
what was that you said again? What, you really want to thin the field?
Thin, you want to thin the field.
Yeah, and it's hard to do at your lower limits. Now, when you start playing Omaha, and I'll be honest with you, I play right down the street from my house every weekend in Omaha, high only at Boulder Station Casino. It's a 4-8 limit game, and I swear to you, it plays ginormous. It's not unusual for every pot or every other pot to be a $300 pot, because there is so much action. They're action junkies. This particular game, they don't care what they're playing. If 4 cards look good to them, and they will chase you down. So if you are a conservative player, you will make money. I love that little game. I pick out the things, like I told you, if you were on the call before we got started, I said I was picking up some patio furniture. Well, guess where the money for that came from? That stupid little game. And I do it. It's like I need $400 for this. I'll run down and play on the weekend, because these people are action junkies, and they want to see it. Now, granted, they will hit every once in a while, but that's okay. That's just like, you know, what do we call those people in Omaha or in Hold'em? River rats or something like that. You know, they will stay, and every once in a while they're going to hit. And yeah, it might cost you a little bit, but in the long run, in Omaha, if you play well and you push it when you should push it, and you throw away the crap, you will not regret it. You will be a winning player, and you'll make good money. Now, when you start entering Omaha at the higher levels, 10, 20 and up, people aren't really going to stay in like that. It's at the lower limits that they stay all the way to the river, and you know, 10 people seated, 7 people see the flop. The river, there's 5 people seeing the river. Okay. In the higher limits, you might have 3 or 4 people seeing the flop, and on the turn you might lose 1 or 2, kind of like when you're playing no limit Hold'em. It's kind of akin to that. But do not start playing at those levels until you have mastered reading cards, because even and if you have a vision problem like I do, don't be embarrassed to read out the cards, because you've got 4 cards to remember, and then you've got the 5 cards on the board, and sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, was that a spade or was that a club, or you know, make sure that you know what you're doing, because it could be very expensive.
So the question is, Lupe, please repeat which game at Boulder?
At Boulder Station. That is Boulder Station in Las Vegas. In Las Vegas is on Boulder Highway. It's a locals casino. It's not near the Strip. It's about 15 minutes from the Strip, on the east side of Las Vegas, and they only play limit Hold'em, no limit Hold'em, and Omaha, and it's Omaha high only. They don't play high-low there.
Wow, that's
cool.
They
have at least on the weekends 5 tables, and it is ram and jam. So it is, you know, you have to be willing to sit for a while and watch who those rammer jammer kind of people are, because they don't care. They will be down, you know, to they pull out the hundreds like it's candy. It's like boom, 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 and you don't have to keep, you know, engaging them. You can sit and wait and then hit your spots. And quite honestly, you know, I don't know what you set your limits at, but I'm one of those people. What my I'll give you an example. My man, he works nights, so he goes at 9 o'clock to work. I go at 11 o'clock to play poker. He gets off at 4, so I want to be home by 3:30. So I either use that window, my time frame, or my $500. If I win $500, I'm out of there. I'm not going to be one of those people who sit there and say, "Yes, I won $1,500 today," because it is such a volatile game. And even a good player, and I think that I'm better than average on mixed games, because I am a little more conservative than these crazy goo-haws. I know that I'm going to walk out of there with money. It is a rare day that I'm down, very rare day. But if I stayed and I get caught up in these hands, I'm going to lose my money because they're just wild players. So you've got to, you know, set your limits, time or money.
Well, before everyone leaves tonight, I'd like for you to type into the chat box what your takeaway was for this session, because this has been such a wonderful time for me to be able to experience this with you, and saying thank you so much for doing this. It's been helpful. Tell us what your takeaways are. I'd like to hear the takeaways so that we know. Be selective in hand range. That's absolutely huge. That is a huge part of it. What else? You know, come on in and give us some feedback here, because in order to bring more to you, we need to know what we're doing correctly or what we might have done differently.
Would you also have an interest in a practice game if we were to set up maybe a couple of different times where we could play? I don't know what platform, because I'd have to do some investigation, or maybe you guys know where we could play this. I think somebody said something about Club WPT has Omaha High.
Yeah, I said it played. Yeah, said yes, and I got yes on setting up some play games.
Okay.
I play Omaha on Club WPT every day. That's Sharonberg. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. I apologize if I haven't said it correctly.
Okay.
Lenny says she needs to go, and but I've got yes for Omaha High, having a combination of 6.
Okay.
I'm an Omaha High-Low and Big O player.
Oh,
so,
wonderful. Wow.
Oh, Debbie Rowland, so that really helped you that I suggested having a combination of 6? Thank you so much.
Good.
Maybe I ought to write a book. I've always thought I should write a book about it, because nobody's ever heard of that before. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that I really appreciate your time. And I know that this was a very short glimpse into a very big game. And we're going to do this session of 5 with the Omaha High, Omaha High-Low, Raz, Stud, and Stud High-Low, which are the horse games. But I threw in Omaha High because it was easy. Right. And no Hold'em. You all know how to play Hold'em. So we want to do this so that we just have an introductory. And then we will, this was like the very, very, very basics, right? The next level, we can probably look at getting it. And there's some really good resources out there. And there are some phenomenal, and I mean, I can't even say that with more syllables, Omaha players in this poker industry. People like Brian Rast. If you ever get a chance to see him play, if you see it on YouTube or whatever, watch him. He's probably, in my book, the best Omaha player I've ever met in my life. You don't want to sit at a table with a lot of really skilled people. Like I learned how to play Omaha from Jan and Linda. It cost me $100 to $200 every Friday to learn the damn game. You don't have to do that, okay? We have the online capacity to be able to learn it. And even just take a deck of cards and go ahead and spread out 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then put down a flop and just analyze your hands and say, oh, gee, should I even call that? No, I probably would. And fold over the ones that you didn't you didn't think were worth, playing, and then see what would happen if you were to have continued in those hands, so that you can kind of start to learn how to read them and what hands are the strongest hands.
And Debbie suggested maybe add Big O into it, since Omaha High-Low is dying in LA.
It is dying in some places, but it's picking up in others.
Yeah.
That Big O is also a very volatile gambling.
Oh, crazy
and,
game.
and people who have, like, I call them the wild child, they really love action. They prefer Big O over High-Low. That's why it's picking up so much in LA, because you know what those players are like in LA. All right, you guys, thank you very, very much. You can always shoot me an email if you have any questions. Yes, Big O it could be played High-Low, but my email is Lupe, Lupe at WPA.poker. Or you can leave a question or a comment on the event page that we had for today, and it'll be relative to Omaha. And I just appreciate you all, and thank you so much. And however, if any commentary, I have thick skin, so if you say you suck, it's okay. I'll take it. All right.
And we'll deal with what Big O is later, because we're going to close the session.
Yes.
And Lupe and I are actually going to do some planning. So if you guys will, we're going to actually pause the recording. We're not going to shut this down, but if you all will just kind of scoot on out.
Yeah.
Just
all right.
Just close, and we'll see you go.
And say goodbye, and thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
Oh, they're good. They're leaving one at a time. Oh, good. They're leaving. Got a few more. Trying to find the button.
Trying to find the clicks. Yes.
Okay, got 4 left now. I got 5 left. Just, okay, how do I close this? By the way, there's you have the control over there that you can help them with that, by the way.
I can? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do I do?
I don't have access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remove. Okay, got it. Remove.
Bye,
that dispense these 1 sessions, right? All right, I'm saying goodbye to you guys as I remove you.
Bye. I love you guys. Bye-bye.
Oh, wow. Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Got 3 left yet. Two left now. 1 more.
Yay. Did it work?
Got 1 more left here.
Didn't work. It's not removing that one.
Judy Taylor, are you here? Oh, there
she goes. All right. So let's pause the recording. Stop the recording. Stop recording.